All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Gearbusters podcast. This podcast, though, is going to be a little bit different. You may have already noticed that after the intro, if you're watching this on our Patreon channel or YouTube, that you're not looking at me sitting at my table. I don't have my camera equipment set up just yet because I don't really have permanent camera equipment. I use all the stuff that I was just at Sno Drift Rally to film these podcasts with. So that being said, I wanted to get something put out though, because I just got back from Sno Drift Rally and quite frankly, all my stuff is everywhere. So that's why all you're going to see today on the video side of the podcast is clips from the rally, the different video snippets that we have available on YouTube and Instagram and all of those different channels. Like I said, a little bit different. Just wanted to get this podcast out though, because I'm extremely excited for how Sno Drift went. And I really wanted to get the podcast going again. I'm probably going to switch to a 2-week podcast release just because it makes things a little easier. I've got a lot of things going on. Drop a Gear is going through some pretty cool stuff right now. And with all the content coming out off of Sno Drift, it's just going to take me a little while to keep everything moving. That said, enjoy the snippets if you're watching our stuff on YouTube, and otherwise, if you're listening on Spotify or your other favorite streaming podcast program, then enjoy. So I'm going to talk about Sno Drift 2025. Sno Drift 2025 is the typical kickoff to the American Rally Association's rally year. It starts out in Atlanta, Michigan. It's usually there's snow on the ground, and it is always a very enjoyable event. Now, last year was a little bit different. We didn't go to Sno Drift last year. We were tied up with some other things, but last year it was unseasonably warm in northern Michigan, and it was more of a gravel event. This year, however, it was a proper Sno Drift rally. There was about, I'd say, between 6 and 8 inches of snow in some spots. Some places there was probably closer to maybe even a foot of snow on the ground. So all of the stage roads, all the spectator roads had been, lightly plowed, I would say, just enough to kind of get them some sort of racing surface. And so it was a proper event in and of that self, with that in mind. Now, Sno Drift is also one of what I've observed as to be one of the most spectated rallies of the year, or at least one that, from everything that I've seen coverage-wise over the years, has the most spectators jammed into one area. That would be the famous Bonfire Alley. Bonfire Alley is famous because essentially the spectators build bonfires almost every 5 to 10 feet. Basically, every group of people that shows up builds a campfire and is sitting there waiting for the cars to go by. Now, they have different things that they'll either throw in the fire or some other means, but basically as the cars come through, people start yelling car, they start ringing the rally bell, all those things, blasting air horns. The people who have their campfires going will actually throw stuff in to make them flare up. And it absolutely is a amazing sight to see. The woods become alive. You feel like you're in a giant raging bonfire, but it's also in the middle of winter. So it's just really cool because then as soon as the fires flare up, then a rally car comes blasting through. And if you're one of the few that are lucky enough to be at the apex of the turn through Bonfire Alley, you get treated with all of the slides and the donuts. Our experience at Sno Drift Rally was, I think, hands down, despite being freezing cold out for me. I'm not a big fan of the cold, if any of you know me. Despite the cold, I was actually super excited to be there. We were going to be there for a different reason. Before I get started, however, I want to let you know that our podcasts are always sponsored by W Energy. W Energy is our jitterless energy blend. It makes sure that we can do all of the crazy things that we've done, get out to the different events such as Sno Drift Rally and various things like that. Provides us with a jitterless caffeine blend. Comes in some amazing flavors. There's no weird artificial colors. There's no artificial flavors or anything like that. So check out w.gg and grab yourself 10% off with code DROPAGEAR. And check it out for yourself. So originally we were going to be out at Sno Drift Rally because we were going to be part of the crew for Mike Carr and his 2005 Subaru. It's all done up in a very cool American livery. I'll put a picture of it here on the screen for those who are watching and stuff like that. But Mike is the president for American Veteran Racing Organization, or AVRO for short. And if you haven't noticed on the channel recently, we actually have partnered with them and are going to sponsor them for all their social media content and various other media. I really like the things that AVRO is going to be doing, because similar to when we were out in Virginia with Racing for Heroes, AVRO's mission is to help veterans through motorsports therapy, which can help in a variety of different ways. If you've never really heard of motorsports therapy before, which I hadn't really heard of until very recently, it's a different way to bridge the gap on all the different services that are available to our veterans. And it's actually really helping a lot of veterans across the nation. And they have partnered with K.I.A. Memorial Roadmarch, which is another veteran organization that is helping veterans in a variety of different ways. And they've actually partnered up with AVRO and kind of brought them under their umbrella in support to help them, get this mission going with the motorsports therapy programs. So like I was saying, I decided that I wanted to sponsor them and become their media producer and content creator for their channel and help get their mission out there. So we're going to be going around to a bunch of different events this year with AVRO, as well as all the different events that we'll be going to, under the name For Drop a Gear. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to help this organization out and get them moving forward in this direction. Obviously, it has a big deal to me because of my own veteran status, but I want to be able to give back, just like I want to give back to the racing community, through the channel and through the mission of Drop a Gear Industries. I just felt that this was a very, very good partnership to mix together, blend together, and then sponsor. Be ready to start seeing a lot of that content. Go over to their channels. I have links in the description. They're building their website currently, so that will be at avroteam.org. You can check that out. You can also check out the link for KMR in the description below. One of the other things that I'm going to do with Drop a Gear Industries, all of our patron memberships, I'm going to take 10% of all of the memberships every quarter, and I'm going to donate that to the mission at AVRO. We have 2 different tiers on Patreon. If you haven't checked this out, I highly suggest it, but our base tier is just $5 a month. That gets you the exclusive access. It gets you into our private chat community where you can chat with other members of the channel. You can chat directly with me. We can discuss cool ideas for the channel and different things like that. Our $20 tier gets you a little bit more access. It can get you some one-on-one stuff, some more personalized things. Any level of membership, though, that you get, however, you do get the exclusive access and access to posts that we don't share around on our regular social medias. But also, like I said, it allows you to get into a more one-on-one situation with us so that you can actually engage with us and be a part of our content. Your membership, though, is going to go to not only helping support Drop a Gear's mission, but also for us to help support the AVRO mission as well, furthering their abilities to grow and help other veterans around the country. Sno Drift 2025. This event, one of the coolest things I have been to in a while. Between Bonfire Alley and all of those things, it was just a total amazing rally event. And so to kind of start, I guess, realistically, we should talk about, I guess we could just talk about it from start to finish, really. So we drove 12 and a half hours from Pennsylvania here to Atlanta, Michigan. We were actually staying in a little mom and pop hotel in Alpena, which is right on the lake. Pretty cool little town. Northern Michigan to me is very rustic, I guess you could say. It's definitely a lot of logging towns. I don't know how much is old growth forest anymore. A lot of the stuff looks pretty new. Like we probably got a lot of lumber out of Michigan over the years. But either way, it was a lot of fun up there. We were about an hour away from the park exposés and things like that. So not too bad of a drive. A lot of the roads up there are straight and you are on them for, 15 plus miles going in a straight line. It is absolutely crazy. It's almost like driving in the Midwest, but there's a lot of trees. It was a lot of fun. We got out to the Park Expose on Friday, which was really neat. We got there a little bit early because I wanted to get some content from the Park Expose both days. I missed both days at the Overmountain Rally, so I really wanted to focus on getting to this one because I really wanted to connect with some of the drivers and the co-drivers during that time. The Park Expose here was packed. And I mean, it was packed within 10 minutes of it starting. It was extremely packed. So we were, running around and talking to a couple different drivers. I managed to talk to Dan Shirley with War Weasel Racing. He has the, believe it's an 05. It's a similar body style to my 04 wagon. So it's a blob-eye wagon, but he has a very, very large wing on the back. You can't miss it. It's pretty cool. I'm actually probably going to build something similar for mine after seeing some of the things that Dan has done with that and how effective it has been at keeping his car from nosediving if he gets airborne like at STPR. So we had a little bit of a chit chat with him that night, but we went around and was talking to some of the other people. I ended up meeting Brandon Semenuk and Keaton Williams that night there at the Park Expose. Got our photo with him. That was pretty cool. But we wanted to get to stage 1 before everything, so we just kind of did that quick moment there and basically headed off. We also had a quick kind of did some shots with Conner Martell's WRX as well, which was pretty cool. Said good luck to him and Alex, and just kind of headed off to stage 1. So we got content from stage 1. We ended up going to stage 6 after that. It was crazy, to tell you the least, right? There was about a 20-minute drive from the Park Expose to stage 1. And we drove out there 20 minutes before the Park Expose ended, and we still ended up being about a half a mile away from the spectator area and had to hike in to get there. So a lot of fun. I did not think that I would run into that many people. I had a kind of forewarning kind of thing, I guess you could say, where, hey, get to these things early because spectators fill in quick. Well, they weren't kidding. So if you go to Sno Drift, I highly recommend that you pick one day to do the Park Expose and then pick a stage midway through the day after that. Because if you want a good spot, you're going to need to be there at least an hour or 2, if not more, beforehand, because that way you can get a good spot. So we got to stage 1. It's a kind of like a zigzag spot. They come into a hard right, they come down a little straight, and then they make a hard left and they leave. And it's basically, you can have spectators on both sides of this area, and it provides a really, really great view. Now, it is the first stage of the night, so it's dark, right? There's not a lot of light, and most of the people didn't really have campfires that were super bright, so there wasn't a lot of light. And my footage that I got was basically a lot of just headlight blur, and then you could kind of tell that a car went by, and then it would, picture off into the distance. The first spot that we got, however, was unfortunately just outside of the spectators allowed area, and we had to move. So sucks for us because I think we would have been okay if we had a media pass, which is something that I would like to get moving forward going to these rallies. So we ended up a little bit further down on the section in between the two hard turns. And I would say that, for the most part, once I got my camera situation figured out, we were able to get some pretty good content. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn on the microphone. I got a new microphone for the GoPros so that I could, really capture that crisp, rally car sound. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn it on. So most of stage 1, actually, if not all of stage 1, there is no audio of the cars. So these clips that have been, flying around in here, most of them from stage 1 don't have any sound. I did film some with my phone, so if you saw any of the videos that we've posted that had sound, that was from my phone. But stage 1 was really awesome. We were there for the whole thing. And then as soon as that was over, we skipped out and we ran back to the car on a icy covered road to get over to stage 6. So there was and it was almost 2 hours between the two stages, if I remember correctly. And we ended up getting stuck a mile and a half away because the local sheriff was not happy with the amount of traffic coming in and out at the same time on a 2-lane road with one side completely parked up. So he was kind of getting people to turn around as soon as he could and having them walk back. So we had about a mile and a half hike. It was worth it. It really was. This stage was a little bit different. They kind of came in from a long sweeping left and then into a hard left. Very interesting stage. They could come in, they got a little bit of speed, and then they'd have to get on the brakes and make the turn. We were on the outside of the turn. There was a lot of people there this time too. And we got there, plenty of time to get ready. We managed to make some friends with some people nearby, a campfire, so that we could kind of stay a little bit warm. Got a lot of good content from that area. Again, the darkness kind of fights me, but at least this time I had the camera's audio on. So it was a really good first night. I really enjoyed the first night. So even on our way back after the first night's events, it was not without event. After getting back to the truck and heading back to Alpena to the hotel, those lovely Michigan roads and their long straight stretches, we encountered one of Michigan's other fun things, and that would be deer, just like here in Pennsylvania. They also like to run out when you least expect it. And despite the large amounts of open space there, it's also very dark. So what my headlights showed me was a blur of brown, and then there was a thunk. That was quite fun. Completely obliterated the right lower corner or the left lower corner of my Suburban's front bumper. So aside of all of that fun and shenanigans and events of the night, we pressed on and got ready for Saturday. Saturday was a totally different experience in the sense that the stages start during the day. It wasn't at night. Everything started around, I believe it was 1:45 or 1:50 was the start time for stage 9, which was the first stage of the day after the park expose. Now, the park expose on day 2 was extremely rewarding for me because I finally got to do the one thing that I have been trying to do for years, and that was to meet Alex Gelsomino. I have been following Alex's career with Ken Block for basically ever since he started co-driving for Ken. Tried time after time to get to events before, Ken's passing, and unfortunately I never got a chance to meet Ken in person like I wanted to, and I really like Alex's personality. I like the way he delivers his pace notes and things like that. So getting to meet him was just really cool, and being able to hear some of his insight about Sno Drift Rally, because like I talked about earlier, last year it was unseasonably warm, and Alex made a comment about how he said, I've been coming here for 20 years and, actually found out that the roads here are gravel, or sand. So, but I'll throw the clip in here.
I've been coming here 20 years. For the first time in 20 years, I realized that the roads are sandy.
So that was really cool. But also getting to meet Conner Martell. So Conner has been driving with Vermont SportsCar here for a little while. He's been more of, I guess, like a development driver for some of their rallycross programs and things like that. And he's been transitioning into the rally stuff. And quite frankly, as soon as he came into the scene, I was like, ooh, we got another new driver. I like this. I like it that, Subaru has a potential for competition, right? Because Conner was driving for Vermont SportsCar. Well, now he got picked up by Kubota. So he still wears the Vermont SportsCar uniform, is with that. But Kubota is one of the biggest sponsors for him. So his car is now painted up like one of the typical Kubota tractors. And so it's, bright orange in your face. I think it's a neat livery. I'm a big fan of the color to begin with. So it's also, kind of a different thing. It's not your traditional Subaru blue. It's like, Subaru Motorsports' cars. And it isn't just the white and blue Vermont SportsCar livery that they had beforehand. Meeting Conner was really cool because his energy around the fans is just awesome. He's got a smile on his face. He's always ready to engage. He says hello to you. He's ready to have a conversation. I would almost say that him and Travis Pastrana have the same idea around being at the Park Expose. They want to talk to the fans. They want to like say hi. They want to sign autographs, all of that stuff. And so it was really cool to meet Conner and, you know, wish him well, have a quick chat about, you know, how things went. You know, so it's just really cool to finally get to meet him, because I'm excited to see where his career goes with rally, because with Alex as his co-driver, I see a really good dynamic between the two. And I see a lot of progress over the last season. And that to me is really cool, because I like watching the newer drivers coming into things, or even seasoned drivers that are now, you know, kind of at the forefront of things, you know, really making those big progressions. I mean, when Brandon Semenuk came in, you know, with Subaru and whatnot, I followed that for a little while, because Brandon has also made, you know, some pretty cool, you know, progression over the years, and he has really been giving Travis a run for his money for the last couple years. You know, no dings on Travis, because Travis is obviously still quite the driver. And I'm interested to see how the 2025 season goes with some of the announcements that he's coming up with. Meeting Conner and Alex was probably the highlight of my day, as well as the fact that Conner has been interacting with the channel, which I think is really awesome to see that he's a part of his fans' content. I've already said it to him, you know, once before, but, you know, I appreciate you sharing our reels, Conner. Appreciate the interaction, and I look forward to hopefully making some more content with you guys, and maybe even be able to get you guys on the channel for an interview sometime at one of the events. That would be really cool. Now, the other aspect of the Park Expose that I really like is being able to talk to the other drivers. So we talked to Dan Shirley with the War Weasel Racing, and we also talked to Santiago Iglesias, which we've been following him and his BRZ since Over Mountain. And I thought it was really cool because he actually has gotten some pretty cool accolades while he was at Sno Drift. He was given the highest overall Subaru award, which was pretty cool. And so it was really neat to see his progression as well. And we actually did a little mini interview with him, so you can see that in one of our other videos. And I'll have the more full version up a little bit later in the coming weeks. But like I said, we also talked to Dan Shirley with War Weasel Racing, and he actually did pretty good as well. He actually got second in class. He got fourth overall in the regional. And as he said, he got ninth overall at the event behind the fancy cars. So I thought that was pretty cool, seeing that progression. And that's something that at the next rally that we go to for the Park Expose, I want to run around and I want to talk to a lot of the other drivers, right? We all know the national drivers. We all know the big name drivers, and, you know, we love and support them because they do bring a big chunk of spectators in, and they are a big part of helping to make the rally events bigger and better, which is awesome. But I also like to be able to highlight all the other drivers, because at the end of the day, I'm all about motorsports, and I love everybody from the guy who this is his first year to the guy who's been doing this for, you know, all his life. So hopefully next time we can interview some of the drivers at the next event and spend a little bit more time at the Park Expose before we head out to some of the different spots on the stages. One of the coolest cars, though, that I saw there was a Fiat Abarth 500. I never thought I'd see one of those in rally, because at least here in America, because the Fiats are not, I don't want to say they're not well known, but they have a stigma, at least in the SCCA. There's you know, the joking, the Fiat 500 rule, which, you know, the 500 is so close to being taller than it is wide, so they have a high tip over, you know, rate. Obviously on rally, if you're sliding around and stuff like that, you know, you're probably not going to tip over, but if you clip grip and whatnot, depending on how it happens, that might happen. Either way, I was really impressed to see that this Abarth 500 was there, because I think they're really neat, and they're not much bigger than our Vivio K car, which it kind of inspires me to want to maybe go buy a third one and really set that thing up for rally. Obviously, we'd probably be at the back of the pack having a stock engine at 65 horsepower, but it would still be fun to blast a Vivio around on some of the stages and just be that entertainment factor. I know I'd be the dead last guy in the entire thing, and I'd even tell them, look, send me out as the last car of the night because I'm not going to be that fast. You can actually find them on Instagram with Racing Tech. But it was really neat to see that car out there, and I hope to see it at more stages this year because I think it's really neat to see something like that. And again, it's inspired me to maybe see about getting the Vivio into rally as well. The rest of Saturday was quite eventful as well because we had plans to go to stage 9. We also had plans to go to the service park, and then we'd get out to Bonfire Alley. We left the park expose in what I thought was going to be enough time to get out there and get ready. But I mean, with the amount of people here, again, I should have left a little bit sooner. But unfortunately, again, because of just the amount of spectators there and the timing involved, we ended up being about 1.5 miles away again. So we ran as fast as we could to get there. Unfortunately, we did miss Brandon go through the turn because right as we were about 300 yards away, he came through the turn. And I had to kind of rush to get there because I wanted to catch Conner come through in the tractor. Well, we just barely got there, and I had to get my cell phone out because I didn't have my other cameras ready, but we did catch him come sliding through the turn. Wasn't the most spectacular view, but, you know, at least did get to see him come through there, which was pretty cool. So we stayed for the rest of that. We did watch the Fiat, unfortunately, run into the snowbank, and it looked like it sandbagged pretty hard, which sucked, but marshals let the spectators come out that were over there on the inside turn and help get him pushed out. So it was pretty cool to see. Reminds me of very similar to WRC stuff. After that, we wanted to go to the service park, and unfortunately, a little GPS snafu sent me in the wrong direction for a little bit. But by the time we got there, we looked like we might have gotten to an area where we couldn't get access, and I wasn't about to try and figure that out to get in there because I wanted to get a good spot for Bonfire Alley. Now, Bonfire Alley is probably the part of the podcast that you are ready to hear about. And if you've been watching some of the video clips from it, you can see why Bonfire Alley was so amazing. We got there 3 hours early. I was told 2 hours early was probably a good thing. Well, I found out that 6 hours is probably the better if you really want a good spot. I say that because some of the people that we met while we were out there had been out there since about 12 o'clock for a rally stage that starts at 6:30 at night. But when you look at all of the video that you see come from Bonfire Alley, you can see just why people come out there and camp out there so much sooner. Now, we were focused on obviously getting as much content as possible. And without a media vest, I'm kind of stuck going behind the spectator areas and not being able to, have a little bit more freedom to essentially put myself where I can get a much better shot without all of the things in the way. We ended up being a little bit further down on Bonfire Alley than I wanted to. I wanted to be up near the really hard left turn that they make, but unfortunately that area had been packed since noon. So wasn't going to get in there. There were so many people and so many groups, and it just appeared that there wasn't going to be any room for the two of us, me and my son that came out to do anything with. So we trudged our way down the road a little bit, found a nice group of guys to hang out with, and their friends, and they let us hang out with them in their campfire, which was really cool. So we got all of our shots from down near the end of Bonfire Alley. So we got to see them come through at pretty much max speed through that area. It is a spectacular thing to see. It is like when you watch old videos of Group B and even modern videos of WRC stuff with the amount of fans that are just packed on the sides of the road. That's what this felt like. But more so than that, the energy and the atmosphere was just really awesome. Even though it was cold as heck and it had been snowing all day, everybody was there having a good time. And then when the rally cars would come through, one of the coolest things that they would do is people would throw things in the fire or whatever and do things to make the fires flare up, in which case then the whole entire woods just illuminates in this glow of fire. and then a car comes flying through at, 60 miles an hour. So it was just a spectacular thing to see, and I am super excited for the rest of the rally season. All in all, if you ever have a chance to go to a rally, I highly encourage that you check out Sno Drift. Go there super early. If we get to Sno Drift next year and we're out there for content, I'm definitely getting my media vest, and I'm definitely going to be at places a lot sooner, because there's so much cool angles to get that you just don't always see from the spectator spots. Don't get me wrong, the spectator spots are really awesome, but as a creator, I want to get to those spots that are just a little bit more clear, don't have trees in the way, things like that. So hopefully next year we can do that. Later on this year, we have a couple other events that we're going to be going to, between the stuff with Drop a Gear that I've got going on this year, the stuff that we're going to be doing for American Veteran Racing Organization. It's going to be a busy year, so I really hope to bring you guys along for that, and I'm really excited to see what we can do. So that's pretty much it about our trip with Sno Drift. I really wanted to just get this podcast out as quickly as possible, which is why there really isn't any video of me sitting here, because honestly, if you're watching, you probably would rather see all of the rally content that we filmed while we were there. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm going to be putting all of these clips together over the next couple weeks and getting things out for you guys so that you can see things more, see the different stages. I might do each stage of full content, and then I might do a complete overview of all my favorite shots. There'll be shorts and different things like that that come out, but you guys kind of drive this content too. So let me know if there's a specific way that you want to see these different events. Do you just want the little shorts? Do you just want the highlights? Do you want the craziest angles? Do you want to see any of the slips and the trips type stuff? If there's specific drivers you want me to capture, if there's specific teams that you want to see more stuff from, let me know in the comments. All of those things, because that's what drives this content. Again, if you like the content, I also would encourage you to check out our Patreon page and consider becoming a member, because not only does your support go to getting Drop a Gear's mission out there to provide help for other motorsports industries, help for drivers, help us grow the channel, etc. It also is going to be a different way for you to help American Veteran Racing Organization and their mission of helping veterans through motorsports therapy. So that's it for this episode of the Gearbusters podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time on the Gearbusters podcast.